What's going on, fellas? How we doing? In today's video, we're going to be covering our 3 trades that we took today, making us 3 bands, baby. Let's get right into the video. Let's make this a little bigger. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, don't ask me why I got shades on. Don't worry about it. Worry about yourself here. All right, 1 hour time frame. Hopping on the NASDAQ. I'm going to zoom in a little bit right here. What we see right here is this I consider to be accumulation. This was on the 1 hour time frame. I marked out the standard deviation from the bottom of this wick to the top of this candle right here, because I presumed this to be the manipulation leg. All right, so I'm going to give you guys real quick my standard deviation settings. These are the settings right here. Go ahead and pause the video, take a screenshot, do what you got to do. Bada beam, bada boom. We're going to hop back into the lower time frame, right? We're back on the 5-minute. This is New York AM session on Thursday, April 23rd. Okay. Secondly, right down here, 9:30 a.m., we took the standard deviation from the bottom of this candle to the top of this candle, right? And that is because this was a manipulation right here. We had an SMT at the lows. I was fairly bullish, but I was bullish until I was bearish. Okay, so boom, took the standard deviation right there, and we'll get back into why this standard deviation right here is so important. But for now, what I want you guys to see is that if we zoom out, I have this -2 standard deviation marked out right here. As you could see on the right side of your screen, I have it as -2 right over there, right? So I'm gonna drop down the 1 minute time frame, zoom in. And I don't know if you guys can see, but this black line right here represents -2 standard deviation that we took from the hourly time frame before. And it pairs up perfectly with yesterday's Asia's high. Actually, last night's Asia's high, right? And this wick right here perfectly taps into both of these. It takes out Asia high and it takes out -2 standard deviation. Okay. This was a sign telling me that price was about to dump. Okay. I didn't want to set a limit at this -2. I wanted to wait for a reaction first and foremost to see if we actually got some sort of confirmation telling me that I should enter in these shorts. Okay. So boom, big reaction, clear sensitivity here at this level, right? Price starts to drop pretty strongly. We get this inverse for value gap right here, right? We got 2 inverse for value gaps, but this one was pretty clear. Hold up. Yeah, right there. This one was pretty clear, giving me pretty clear confirmation that price wanted to drop. I did want to see a CISD form right here. We didn't get that. But nevertheless, we get a retracement. I set my limit at 0.705, which is OTE. Boom, limit right there. I target this low right here. Boom, target that low for a total of 92 points with literally 4 points of drawdown. Right, I went break even right after this most recent low, and price dropped pretty quickly after that. Okay, my second trade, and I'm sure you guys understand why I took this trade. Right, we got a liquidity sweep up here of Asia highs. We paired perfectly with -2 standard deviation, indicating to me, and this sensitivity right here, right, this wick tells me that price is reacting to these levels, and we are going to see some speed to the downside. Okay. We didn't take our time wicking inside of these fair value gaps either. We inverse them pretty quickly. We tap into OTE, and once again, we see that sensitivity that we want to see with that wick. Okay, moving on to the next trade. This one was more of a gamble. Most of you know, if you know me and you know my strategy, you know that I stick to ICT concepts. And just recently, I've been dabbling in a little bit of standard deviation. Okay, so this was more of a risky trade. More of a gamble, as you could say, right? So I took, once again, this level that I marked out right here. I'm not sure why this candle's missing, but there should be a candle there. And I set a limit order at OTE of this. It just so happens that we got an SMT here as well. I was not really planning on that, but that to me just added more confidence into this trade, right? And as we tapped into OTE, we see this clear, let me move this so you guys could see. Look at that wick. Let me draw this out. Look at this wick. This is what I want to see. That's clear sensitivity at that level. indicating to me that we are going to pretty quickly potentially reverse to the upside, right? If you aren't 100% sure in standard deviation, as I am, right? I'm pretty new to the standard deviation stuff. What you could have done was waited for this inverse, which we got here. I don't know why that's red. Okay, bam. Inverse, which we get right over here, fully inverse. Stop at this recent low because we do have an SMT down here. And you could have targeted, once again, this first high right here, or even New York AM high, right? Which we end up taking out and more, okay? So that was my second trade right there. More of a gamble. I was trying to get a really, bottom tick entry, which played out pretty perfectly. And now covering my third entry. And I want to emphasize once again, I should have waited for the inverse for value gap. This was more of a gamble by just setting my limit there, but I should have waited for that inverse for value gap, okay? And then for my last third entry, which was honestly insane, what I saw here was, once again, going back to these two, let me get rid of this one actually. Let me go on the higher time frame real quick. Going back to these two levels, I'm going to mark out the negative 2.5 right here. And once again, this is the standard deviation that I marked out on the hourly time frame, which I showed you guys at the beginning of this video. I'm going to show you guys real quick. Boom. That's negative 2.5. Negative 2.25. That's this black line right here. And we're back on the 1 minute time frame. I'm going to mark out this negative 2.25. Both of these negative 2.25s aligned almost perfectly. So what did I do? I set a limit right in between them, right? Boom, right in between them. And what does price do? Price immediately taps into it. We don't get that instant rejection, right? We can kind of consolidate around here, but we were pumping a lot, right? We have been pumping straight up, and this consolidation to me also signified that price was going to respect this level. This is supposed to be a 20-point stop loss. I typically try to have between a 10 to 20-point stop loss. And boom, we tapped in. We get this inverse value up once again. That could be your confirmation on this trade specifically. I didn't wait for confirmation, but we do get the CISD right here and the inverse value gap. You could have entered down here. Stop loss, about 20 points above the negative 2.5 standard deviation. And for this trade specifically, I was targeting this low right here. That's what I was targeting. But this is insane. We could have caught up to 459 points. That is just ridiculous. We literally top ticked today's price, which was absolutely insane. Overall, W trades. I'm not a pro at the standard deviation stuff. I have just been recently introduced to it by a good friend of mine named Daniel. Shout out Daniel. If you guys are in my Discord, Daniel's always active in there. Love you to death, Daniel. I'm not claiming to be a pro at standard deviation. I am just saying that overall, I have traded ICT concepts for a fat minute now, and adding standard deviation to it has been honestly eye-opening. Once again, I forgot to mention this too. As price is dropping, we literally retrace and tap into 0.705, which is OTE perfectly right here. Oh my God. Bang. You could have entered right here, limit order at OTE if you missed the first entry, and once again caught this massive dump. Could have caught so many points there. This is absolutely insane. 3 for 3 today. And yeah, this is just a trade recap for today's trades. It's honestly mind-blowing how standard deviation paired with ICT concepts is just mind-blowing. And I definitely want to start implementing more of this standard deviation stuff into my trades. So you guys should be seeing more of that in the near future. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much. Please like, comment, subscribe. I love you guys so much. As always, may God bless you. I love you.